Well, Mr. Candee, it would not be an LSR podcast here post-pandemic if we were not talking in some way, shape, or form about something going on with DraftKings. So by all means, take it away.
So this is an interesting piece that we have up right now at LegalSportsReport.com by Brad Allen, where he spoke to some folks who had been through previous tech migrations like the one that DraftKings and SBTECH are going to be attempting post-merger. And he got such cheery feedback as it's an outright concussion trying to merge these two platforms. Fascinating piece by Brad. I would suggest going to Legal Sports Report and checking that out. In there, I think you get a very clear look as to why the demise of Candee has potentially been overstated, because you could be well into 2021 by the time DraftKings and SBTECH have that as they've called it, pure play stack, where they have everything in-house. Candee, of course, is contracted to stay on with DraftKings to provide that back end for as long as it takes to get SBTECH up to speed. But the more you read the article by Brad, the more you start to think 2021 and deep into 2021 is much more realistic than anything you might have heard previously. And even Jason Robbins has talked about that, the CEO of DraftKings, that they're not going to rush this. They're going to take it slow. The interesting thing I find about that, and I want to know what you guys think about this, is DraftKings, in terms of that stock value, has been selling the "we own our tech stack" idea. Well, if you're now pointing 12 to 18 months out, how much of the value do you take away there in terms of what you've been thinking DraftKings really is in the near to medium term?
Well, I guess, Dustin, this is probably that's actually an excellent segue here to kind of the next point, which we are now starting to see DraftKings really branch out from just the typical sports betting dealer. I mean, we know start out as a DFS company. We know that that was all basically leading to the moment whenever sports betting was going to be legalized. Perfect storm for them. But, you know, you have talked about it on this pod before. If you go to our sister sites, you can see some of the numbers and just how much is in online casino, and DraftKings now kind of stepping forward and moving into that market full force.
Yeah, I mean, just this week, here's what we got. They launched their own Pennsylvania online casino standalone app outside of, before that, it was just a part of their sportsbook in the states where they are live and where online casino is also live. Also, just yesterday, they launched an online casino in West Virginia, the first of those in that state. So this is, DraftKings is not just a sports betting or a DFS company anymore. That much is clear, and this is all part of that as well. This is, and the casino part, like just those, just New Jersey and Pennsylvania, that might outpace revenue that they're doing basically in every other state for sports betting. That's if they, in a long enough term, if they look at it. I'm not sure what their cut is right now between casino and sports, but it's a fundamentally large part of their business in terms of what's going on. They're going to be in Michigan as well, like we talked about before. So, I'm with Adam on the tech stack. I read Brad's and I'm like, man, why would they rush this at this point? They have a good thing going. They have products that work. I think the single, down the road, yes, the single tech stack will be valuable, but in the short term, they're just trying to grow. And you read what Brad's story, and people are trying to. You have to devote a ton of resources just to products you already have. You have to stop what you're doing, all development and new stuff, just to take X over here, right? That's not an attractive thing as you're pitching growth in the company. So it's something that obviously has to happen, that they want to happen, but it will be interesting to see how quickly or slowly it happens.
And Adam, this is one of those things with DraftKings, as you mentioned. We know their biggest competitor in FanDuel, the way that they were able to kind of, look, I don't think anyone has ever talked about, we talked about it briefly on this podcast here and there about the back end side of FanDuel and where, their parent company and everything that is going on with that wasn't a part of what DraftKings was doing. And that, listen, we talk about not only the advantage FanDuel has had, just we've seen in markets, but there was also a significant advantage from that side of things.
Well, that's something they came in with, right? As soon as the Paddy Power Betfair purchase was made, that's exactly what FanDuel had to go with. And I think what you look at is, as soon as I say Paddy Power Betfair, you, of course, are talking about Paddy Power and Betfair combining. So you have some background there, and there's some quotes in Brad's article that go back to that merger. So that was something FanDuel had as a built-in advantage right from the start. Of course, now FanDuel, we talk about FanDuel and it's Flutter Entertainment overall. So that's something that DraftKings will be able to pitch eventually. But as Dustin was talking about, it's not just the innovation side, it's the scale. It's how quickly you have to scale up if you're DraftKings to compete. You didn't get that huge cash infusion from going public to deal with engineers, at least ostensibly. You did it to be able to market and build on top of what you already have. So in order to continue to do that, and to do that at the pace that might be required to do it effectively in Colorado this year, in Michigan, in Illinois, where we know DraftKings is probably somewhere close to imminent in terms of launching. So when we look at the future for DraftKings and SBTech in terms of that migration, they have every reason to play it slow. It's just interesting that they were out there pitching the idea of the tech stack not that long ago as a huge advantage that was going to help them close the gap on FanDuel.